Inside Story Uganda, real source of political updates.
Come early next year. Welcome aboard. My guest tonight, I'll be speaking to Honorable Rose Namayanja, the Deputy Secretary General of the National Resistance Movement, Mr. Leonard Egesa, a political analyst, Honorable Aisha Kabanda, woman member of Parliament for Butambala and Deputy Secretary General of the National Inter-Platform, together with our frontliner, Honorable Semuju Ibrahim Nganda, Member of Parliament, Kira Municipality, and Chief of Staff. Chief of Staff. Another title.
A function.
I think you have about 10 of them. Spokesperson, now brand master.
Those are functions.
You must be overwhelmed. You just wake up to
Continue with the introduction.
Well, good to have you.
Thank you.
Honorable Namayanja, I'll start with you. Pleasure having you. NRM boasts the biggest chunk of years post-independence. Today, as we celebrate Independence Day, President Museveni at Kololo said, "You are unstoppable." Unstoppable for what?
First of all, it's a pleasure to be here, and good evening and happy independence to the panelists and all Ugandans. And yes, it is true, NRM has been in power for the biggest part of the 63 years.
40 years to be precise.
Yeah, almost. We are there. And as I was watching the last ad which was airing, you're talking about trials and triumphs. It has not been a smooth road. It has been slippery. It has been thorny in some cases ever since we got independence. As I was coming here, I was talking to my mother, and she told me she was 17 years when Uganda was getting independence. So those like her and many others have a different view of what we who were born post-independence. I mean, a lot of the things we talk about, I was not there during the 1964 referendum. I was not there during the 1966 crisis, the 1967 pigeonhole constitution. I was not there. I was in P6 in 1986, and I had not figured it out so well in as far as comprehension of what was going on in the country is concerned. So a lot of that, some of us read about it or hear about it, and we learn about it. But there are those Ugandans who have seen it all, who are of adult age and have seen the transformation. But I can also say that even when it is almost 40 years, Uganda was, from my perspective, I think we gained, the first independence I can talk about is stability. That I can move and do whatever I want at any time of the day, and until, even when NRM came to power in 86, but until 2008, some parts of the country were under war. So for me, the aspect of a country being stable, that you are not talking about rebels in any corner of the country. Ugandans can, somebody at his or her shop can leave the fridge outside and find it on the veranda in the morning. That level of stability for me is the first level of independence. But when you talk about what President Museveni says, we are unstoppable, you didn't conclude the statement. He said we are unstoppable in our journey of enkulakulana, because akyogedde mu Luganda, our journey of development. Even that development aspect of it, both wealth and development for individuals and families, that's wealth. But development of the country has also been a journey.
Well, I'll get back to you. Leonard, politically speaking, what benchmarks do we employ in gauging the milestones the country has registered and the setbacks?
Okay, thank you, Simon, for inviting me. First, I will correct you, I'm not a political analyst. I'm a political and business strategist. And number two, I came with the two of the leading dailies here. And that is what I'm going to use to answer your question. You know, there has been a story, a legend that has gone around on social media for a long time about guarding a concrete slab. I don't know if you've come across it. In many organizations, people guard concrete slabs. So that story comes from a military barracks, that there once was an army barracks where there was a concrete slab near the quarter guard. So people used to, every commandant who was sent to that barracks was sending 4 soldiers to guard that slab full time, and even in the night. So after so many years of this practice, one brilliant commander surfaced and asked, why do we put 4 men to guard that concrete thing there? What is underneath there? Why should there be 4 men? So nobody could explain it to him. So they went digging up the records in the archives. They never found sufficient reason until they went back 80 years in time. And they discovered that when that thing was built, it was basically a platform for the parade commander to stand on. So when it was built, the first night, dogs ran over wet cement. Yeah, and then, so when the following day, the commandant said, go and make sure there are 4 men guarding that thing until the cement dries up. So what happened is that
it became a ritual.
It became a ritual. Why? Because the commandant was transferred before the 4 days elapsed. So the guy who replaced him continued deploying 4 men there every night. So people continued, so all his successors continued doing the same thing without actually knowing what the purpose was. Now, you imagine how many years of wasted resources that was in that particular unit. So what am I driving to? Is that we are not yet independent as a country. The white man could have left the country and gone, but our minds are still colonized. Our minds are still colonized. Many people who are occupying government offices are suffering from impostorism, or what you would call the impostor phenomena, or the imposter syndrome. That is the biggest thing. And until we overcome that, we are not going to progress as a nation.
But we celebrate independence.
Yes, we shouldn't be celebrating independence. Because until we overcome imposter syndrome, we shouldn't celebrate independence. What is imposter syndrome? It is a syndrome where people think they don't qualify to occupy certain positions on merit. They think that they fraudulently, or by sheer luck, they ended up in those positions. Why did I carry these 2 newspapers? It was just for symbolic purposes. When I was going through these papers, I don't buy newspapers, by the way, in hard copy. I read, I pay and read online. But why I bought these is because I realized they were independent supplements. Now, what is the message in those supplements? All these people, you see, you find their government agencies, Atomic Energy Council, Uganda National Company, blah, 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 so many ministries and what have you. They are writing and the message is the same. They are saying the board and the board of directors and the management of this organization congratulate His Excellency, who is even the appointing authority, yeah, for most of these fellows. They are congratulating him for independence. Are we independent? So the message is actually useless. It adds no value. But it is something that has been done over and over and over and over. And it's a colonial relic. It's a colonial relic. Why? Because, you see, when we were colonized, the sovereign was the crown in the UK. Yeah? So people wanted to get favors from the sovereign, who was the crown. So the newspapers at the time carried such messages. Okay? So now, even when we say we got independence, our people who are occupying these offices still waste resources. Do you know how much it costs to pay for a full-page advert in this newspaper?
Thank you. I'll certainly,
Yeah?
we'll certainly get back to that.
Yes.
Honorable Aisha Kabanda, what kind of conversation is the country having as we celebrate 63 years of independence? And what do you think are the lingering questions that are yet to be answered, speaking to independence?
You see, when we are starting the conversation, you said, what are the strides? What are lessons, setbacks? I was like, okay, strides. There are some strides registered. And I'm like him. I don't wish to be recognized. I don't. Because when you say don't celebrate at all, it's like you wish you were still governed by them. The major stride made is that we are able to mismanage ourselves. We are able to mismanage ourselves. We are making our own mistakes. That's the major stride.
So the colonizers let us to mismanage ourselves.
They let us alone. I have had the young people growing say, please give me a chance to make my own mistakes. So we have made our own mistakes, and we don't have them to blame anymore. I think if by this time we still blame the colonial masters for what we are going through, then we have a problem by ourselves. 63 years. Majorly what's been registered, if you talk about what's been registered, yes, we have survived. We have survived 63 years by ourselves.
I think you're just being cynical in calling them achievements.
I'm being realistic. That's what it is. We have survived by ourselves 63 years. Out of the 63 years, NRM has ruled us 40 years. The setbacks registered, one will say, are majorly as a result of the instabilities that we have had. When you study our history, the common factor within the instabilities we have had, the players are almost the same. When President Museveni speaks about his life, he'll talk about his involvement in national issues from the 1970s. He says in 1970, he refused to be ruled by Idi Amin and then chose to go in exile to fight the regime. When you read their books, they did a lot of mayhem to be named onto the governments then. So what we are, that's what we are. Lots of things that forced our forefathers to fight against the colonizers still exist. Most of them still are, except that now there's been change of guts. It's not them now anymore, it is us. So that's where we are. I was thinking through, when you invited me today, I was thinking through, like, okay, what have we been? Economically, what have we been and what are we now? Then during that time, we had the major cash crops I was thinking about. Even when Prem 7 came, he said, gone are the days when we shall sing about the 3 C's and the 3 T's. I was like, okay, leave alone Uganda. Let me speak about my Butambala. What do we have there? You see, until when you dissect this to the smallest unit, you cannot understand it. What do you have in Butambala? What? Coffee only, nothing. The next thing we have is a Mailonji. That's all we have. So
at least you have something.
It's been outlawed. We are surviving on the same small section of the law, but was outlawed. So to me, 63 years down the road, until we drop the chest thumping, say it's us, and we come together. And I have heard him talk about the national unity. It doesn't become a song until we realize that we actually need each other. We have a problem. You know, you cannot solve a problem until you have realized that you have a problem. We sit on a round table as nationals. I had someone today say he doesn't like Uganda. He doesn't like Uganda and he will not like it. Sagala and Siyangera sija kuchagala mpaka Museveni against. I heard someone say like, but let's talk about this country. Yeah? So where is the patriotism we're talking about? If we've gone to the extent of going to schools and teach people about patriotism, love your country, don't teach me how to by love and say you love. No, I love as a result of things that have happened to me.
Thank you very much. Honorable Semuju, 63 years down the road, is there a cause for celebration? And where is the country called independent Uganda?
I think I reflect the years, the time when I was growing up. You had one television station, radio station. At that time, we were sort of a nation because we were fed by one source of information. So, because you want to listen to Radio Uganda, you listen to all the speeches, there will be one agenda. The same applies to many other national functions, whether it is budget reading, the birth of FM stations and social media that are providing an alternative source of information has reduced the importance of these days, because we had no option but to follow. Today, if you went on the street, I think there will be fewer people who are following even the events in Kolo itself. Part of the reason I listen to the president, one, I am a leader, maybe we are going to debate the speech in parliament, maybe I'm going to be invited to the front end to debate it. But I think more than 90% of the country are not bothered, they don't even follow. If you ask them, they don't even know what Museveni said at Kololo. So that's where we are as a country. I have visited some other country. I was in Ghana. For them, independence is still meaningful. You will see a whole country gearing up. But the failure of the governments we have had today, I was in South Sudan in 2011 when that country was being born. The celebration that preceded the day itself, 2 days, people are on the street because they wanted self-determination from Khartoum. One time I interviewed the late Abu Mayanja, and he told me the day Uganda got independence, the euphoria in town, the excitement. So that excitement has gone. Part of the reason it has gone, Aisha spoke about it, 73% of our years as a nation, we've been under one government, we've been under one president, Yoweri Museveni. And I had an opportunity to discuss this with him when we were on a talk show. The point I guess I made. People are not congratulating Ugandans, they are congratulating Museveni. So this is about him. So it's not about the country, it's not about the population. So because of the state capture, the population don't see any value in being independent, especially because majority, if you look at the demography, the other day I told you 31 million, which is 71% of Ugandans are below the age of 29. Those who are below the age of 40 should be about 80 something. So they have known Museveni. They are not there when we are attaining independence. All they have known is Museveni. So all their disappointments about Museveni are also disappointment about the country itself. The other day when we were discussing here, I told you now have 170,000 Ugandans in Saudi Arabia, population bigger than Aisha's district, which is 140,000. So those people who are working as maids, as askaris in a foreign country, that's where the opportunity is. So which country do you want them to love? Is it Saudi Arabia that has offered them some economic refugee status, or Uganda where they ran from? So the whole idea of independence, self-determination, people wanted to be free, they wanted to determine their own affairs, but they have not participated in determining their own affairs since the first government of Milton Obote to date.
Well, I will certainly get back to you. Honorable Namayanja, besides the ritual of celebrating every 9th of October, do you take time as NRM, the government in power, to do soul searching on where you stand on matters governance, people's welfare, security, national character, and the economy?
I think I just want to pick it up from where he said as a strategist that there's no need even to celebrate independence. And for me, I think it is shooting ourselves in our own feet. Because independence, first and foremost, should be a day that concerns everyone, every Ugandan. because those that fought for this independence are not there. Today we are the ones who are there. For them, they played their part. There is that even common view that Uganda got independence on a silver plate. It was never the case. The Ike Musazis, the late Kachama Mayanja, there are people like Semakula, I've forgotten his second name, in 1948. His scholarship in London was terminated for fighting for freedom for Uganda. It was terminated, and then the Bataka had to contribute resources to ensure that it is paid for. So it was not in a silver plate. Those Ugandans at the time played their part. Even us, it is, regardless by the way of our political affiliations. The good thing, many of us, except this one who is not a politician, many of us here have belonged to different political outfits. But one thing that is common is that we are Ugandans. We are supposed to play that role. He talked about government, that people still think we are independent, but there are opposition politicians who even appeal to the former colonizers to come and play a part in our politics. So there is that mental decolonization.
The same way you run to them for budget.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying that all of us are supposed to play a part, regardless of political affiliation.
I was not targeting your party. I was talking about Ugandans in general.
Because those ones who did so at that time. Today we are the ones who are there. Tomorrow we will not be there. But we picked up from where they left. Let's play our part. The rest are coming in. Otherwise, the whole of Africa, most of these countries in Africa are not fully independent. They still depend, their budgets depend on the former colonizers. When my sister Aisha talked about the 3 C's and all that kind of stuff, yes, I agree with him, but you know, Uganda doesn't grow at the same homogeneous state. She gave the example of Utambala. But the president, what he was saying today is that we depended on coffee when we were growing up. And that's all we knew, at least in my area, in where I come from in Bulemes. We knew there was coffee, and that was it. Nothing else. But now, even if you look at coffee alone, when you look at the level of growth that we have reached as a country, being one of the biggest producers of coffee in the world and exporters,
but I think
for me that is a stride. Let me first conclude this. When I got deep to the other, because what the president was saying, yes, we depended on coffee, but the milk industry is big. The grain industry is big. When you go to areas where you would live, in 2000, I was a youth leader. I traveled to Ngoma in Nakaseke. And the tax, just one tax would leave you. If by 6 a.m. the tax leaves you, you wait for 6 a.m. the next day. A lot of that had to do with infrastructure.
Okay.
Infrastructure that has grown.
Do you want to look at economic milestones and attribute them to independence?
Yeah, they are. They are both economic, political, and what you talk about governance.
I thought most fundamentally it was about fixing the political problem, the governance issues.
But if the political issues were not fixed, okay, there's no way you cannot talk about, you can talk about development.
How?
If you look at the security or politics development nexus, the reason why Uganda lagged behind in the immediate post-independence period was because of the instability and the fragile political environment.
Let's go bit by
existed.
bit.
Yes.
Where does Uganda stand on the question of governance?
I want to say that we are better than what we were before independence. I mean, immediate post-independence.
What if we were in a dungeon?
Better by...
Because let's just look at, you asked the criteria one would look at, but let me just look at the constitution-making process. I talked about 1967. We all know there was a pigeonhole constitution where it was put in the members' pigeonhole. No, we are talking about independence, the 63 years.
The pigeonhole constitution is not the independence constitution.
It's not.
The General Constitution is 1967.
But it is part of the independence
Again, by
period.
you Ugandans who have had the opportunity to mismanage yourselves.
Okay.
She's talking about the whole journey.
The whole journey.
The whole journey, yes.
We must be also real and talk about issues as they are. If you look at the Pigeonhole Constitution in 1967 and the 1995 Constitution, for me, I am a believer. I cannot say that NRM has done 100%. It's never there. There's no government that can do 100%. But I can comfortably say that we may not be where we want to be, but we are not where we were.
Mr. Gesa, let's first look at the question of governance, which actually compelled the politicians then, or the activists then, to struggle for independence. Where does Uganda stand?
We have been going through a cycle. You remember that cycle, the vicious cycle they teach in high school economics? So we have been in that kind of cycle on the aspect of governance as a country. We have had a change of guard, but we keep rotating around the same things. And this is so because it is by design. The British did not leave Uganda in good faith. They left in bad faith. Because of the changing world order, they had to surrender the governance, at least for symbolic reasons, in many of these countries. So what we have persistently had over the 63 years is a weak and feeble state, which cannot guarantee that a change of government is impactful to the population. Yeah? So when I say weak and feeble state, I mean the key institutions of a state that are supposed to make sure that there is a smooth transition in governance, leaders come and go, have always been captured by a cabal or a few people. Yeah, so that's why you see one of the critical institutions of a state that are supposed to, to guarantee that kind of, continuity in stability and all that is the military. So you see that, we have had, that military instability over the years. Now, what happened during Idi Amin's time? There is no guarantee it cannot happen right now. Yeah, we are not at a position where you can say it cannot happen. And this is not without basis. I'm not trying to be alarmist. You saw the other day that some MPs tried to stretch their luck. They invited the Chief of Defense Forces, and he told them off. He said, those are a bunch of clowns. I cannot appear before them. Yeah? And did he appear? In fact, the Speaker was apologizing on behalf of Parliament. Yeah? So, which means that the democratic experiment which Ugandans aspired to have in the CA is not actually realized. It still remains a pipe dream. So we are not yet there. So the question of governance. So that's why I'm telling you that if you look at the 40 years of
NRM celebrates constitutionalism.
No. They are gaslighting us. They shouldn't be celebrating constitutionalism. You see, the problem with overstaying in power is that you are forced to undo your earlier achievements. So President Museveni, you see, the way we used to look at President Museveni between 1986 and 2005, it's not the way we have been looking at him in the last 20 years. Because he has been undoing most of his earlier strong points.
You and who?
Yeah? Ugandans. I'm talking about Ugandans. I'm talking about Ugandans of my generation. I am 41 years old. I was barely 2 years old. I was actually less than 1.5 years old when President Museveni took power in January 1986. Yeah. So when I tell you I've lived most of my life under President Museveni, when we were in 1994, I was a Boy Scout in primary school. Yeah. Yeah, so in 1995, I was a Boy Scout in primary school. We went to independence celebrations. We had spent weeks preparing for that parade. It rained on us, and we were so happy because we were participating in independence celebrations. Today, I cannot forget about even braving the rain. I cannot even sit and watch the speech on TV for about 1.5 hours. Why?
That's not patriotic.
That's what Honorable Semuju has been explaining. You see, so we have to be realistic here. However good you are, when you overstay, governments by their own nature become stale, and the systems. Yeah? Stale, when they say stale, I think I should put it in Luganda for people who are watching us to understand. Zigaga. Government igaga.
That's extreme.
Yeah. No. You see, why President Museveni has been changing names. He has been changing names of programs for improving livelihoods. It's because the impact remains more or less the same. The changes in terms of impact on the ground are infinitesimal. In mathematics, we call it infinitesimal. They are negligible, almost negligible. They are very small changes. So because of that, the other time he was calling it Entandikwa, he changed it to NADS, it became Bonaba Gagawale. So every election cycle, the names keep what? Keep changing. Impact remains almost the same. There's not much that is changing.
As I shift to Honorable Aisha, Honorable Namayanja was categorical. She said, we are not where we're meant to be, but we are somewhere. Do you buy into that statement?
Like I said, we are in a cycle. So, like I said, whatever gains we had registered in the first 20 years of the NRM, we have reversed most of them. Now we are closer to a military coup than we were in 2005.
Thank you.
Yes.
You can borrow the analogy of General Muntu. General Muntu, one time when he was presenting one of the documents in the FDC meetings, he said the NRM likes judging its achievement by not where we are going, but where we came from. And he said, if you are traveling to Masaka, a journey of 1 hour, and at 55 minutes you are in Chengera.
You are somewhere, of course.
You are somewhere, but at that speed it will take you 2 years to reach Masaka.
Where you're going.
Well, very, very interesting. Honorable Aisha, where do you start in judging or scoring NRM on the question of governance? NRM that has been in power for the greatest part of post-independence.
You see, Comrade Egisa said that when you stay in power for too long, you start undoing your own achievements. You said NRM prides in constitutionalism. And as Honorable Namanya speaks, she refers to the 1967 Pigeonhole Constitution. And I keep wondering, how different was that constitution making from the 2027 constitution amendment exercise? 2017. How different? The 1967 constitution was made under a heavily guarded parliament, okay, with the soldiers all around. And even 2017, we saw military tanks that were supposed to be probably at the borders at parliament. We saw members of parliament battered for the views they held. So how different was the 1967 making exercise, pigeonhole constitution, from the most recent 2017 constitution amendment exercise? So they undid what they did. Okay, so one man. President Museveni is known for, first of all, denying what he's going to do. He said, when they asked about it, he said, no, it's not true, it's not going to happen. And then it happened, and it was supposed to be by force. Members of parliament, some of them are still casualties of that exercise. I think Honorable Semuju could be among those. Maybe he has effect that he may not even be able to tell now. Okay? So our problem, and I want to believe with you entirely, that our major problem is being governance. And I disagree with Egisa. When he blames the colonial masters for leaving us with the weak institutions because they went in bad faith, they didn't want to go. Come on, 63 years. Are we so empty that even after leaving us that way, we could do nothing?
Simon, can I have a minute and a rebut?
It's okay, let me just make my point. Simon, it speaks to the greed, the selfishness. No one should tell you that people don't know what should be done. Okay? They attempted to do good things in the beginning in 1986. They did. Everyone followed them. We just didn't know that we are living a very deceitful life. People have been understanding at a different level that they were actually deceived. Okay? So we just have a bunch of leaders that have been so deceitful, okay, that are very selfish and have chosen not to help Uganda. Just let me conclude it. I am sure after NRM goes, another leader is going to come and rewind to 1986, where President Museveni got us. Redo a constitution start afresh, get people that are going to participate in it. Talking about patriotism.
So you want to suggest that another leader could also end up doing the same things
I
the past
predict
leaders have
another
done?
leader is going to come and do that. Okay? Two things I don't want to forget. I have had Honorable Namayanja trying to insinuate that there are political parties here that are praying for us to go back into colonialism, okay? That we call for them. Honorable Namayanja, when we call for help from other countries, we are not calling them to come and manage us. We're just telling them, please, you are facilitating problems that are happening here. Because if they are not giving us, if they are not leaving President Museveni with the liberty to collect monies and divert them elsewhere, probably he would be squeezed, okay? But because they fund him and give him all the resources, he's at liberty to divert the national resources that would be helping.
Before I bring in Honorable Semuju,
finally,
I think it's so. In all fairness, we need to get back to Honorable Namayanja.
Okay, before let's go with this. The patriotism, because independence is supposed to check our patriotism. It reignites, okay, our patriotic spirit. Okay? Now, talking about patriotism, look at a Ugandan that goes in hospitals and finds situations that in hospital and say they are not patriotic. Look at teachers that are suffering the way they are suffering. They are being discriminated, living different lives, and they are listening leaders living very lavish life. Okay? An IGG who can proudly come on a station and say, you people, you are the casualties of the corruption. When I fall sick, they will fly me out. And you are telling people, please be patriotic, love your country so much for you to be good Ugandans.
Honorable, I might need your rebuttal now, Honorable Namayanja. They seem to be talking more about reversals. Is the country living in denial that today we celebrate when in actual sense there is no reason to celebrate?
First of all, I don't know which party, if any, that Mr. Egesa belongs to, but the colleagues in the opposition are entitled to their opinions. And they look at these things, all of us, by the way, look at these things when we talk about governance, when we talk about politics, we look at it from different lenses. So it's their opinion, and they are entitled to it.
You're not surprised?
I am not surprised, and I don't expect them to come here and say, it is very good that there is this level of development. Because for me, just from the perspective of when Mr. Gesa says that he's speaking for all Ugandans of his age, how can you convince everybody that actually all Ugandans of your age bracket believe the same things? There are many Ugandans of the same age bracket that believe by conviction in the NRM policies.
But they suffer from the consequences.
You should not cry more than the bereaved. Because they go out, even in the aspect, in the arena of politics alone, they go out, nobody calls them, and they say, I want to contest for politics at the parish level, at the sub-county level, at the member of parliament level, on the NRM ticket.
Okay.
These are Ugandans of the same.
How do you rate
but
NRM
what I can
on
say,
the question of governance?
What I can say, even when, for me, I can rate NRM at 8. Wow. Looking from where we came from, and we know where we want to go. This business of saying that NRM looks at where we came from alone, the president has come out that he wants biometric voter process. That let's vote by biometrics. We have not reached there. That's where we want to go. And I don't know whether that's where we are going to.
Okay,
he has a vision.
These are the tenets of governance that I want you to explore. Let's talk about constitutionalism. Do we have a living constitution that is respected?
It is respected. For you to have the three arms of government, Honorable Aisha talked about the 1967 versus the 2017, and still I pick on what she said. We learn from our mistakes. And I said here, very categorical, that not everything that we have done is 100%, but we have done better than anybody. Now, you cannot compare where if you read from Obote to Obote by Akena Adoko, Akena Adoko, I think it's Akena Adoko. Yes, not Adoko Nechon, Akena, it is Akena. But he was saying then the Hansard of 1967, where the president then came and said that I hereby declare that a constitution has been abolished, a new constitution has been promulgated, and it is hereby promulgated. Go in the pigeonholes and get your copies. Now, when you compare with the 2017, this was a decision that was taken in Parliament. And then they had to go to courts of law.
At the barrow,
and government,
decision taken at the
they
barrow
went up to the courts of law, and government went and put their case, arguments forward, and the judiciary decided by themselves. So, but for Aisha, Honorable Aisha, to say that in terms of health service delivery, that where we were is where we are, for me, I find that hiding the head under the sand, because I'll speak from. Let me give an example. She gave an example of Utambala. I will still give the example of Nakaseke, where I come from, or Greater Luweero, that somebody would fall sick in Rwampanga, in Nakasongola, because it was one district, and had to, if they had the means, would move from there to Nakaseke, which was the only hospital. By the time NRM came to power, there were 5 health facilities in Greater Luweero. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They are 88. From 30,
Are you talking buildings or?
And
no,
how much
both, by the
revenue
way,
was being
both.
collected that
Because
time?
at least right from the village level, somebody who has a health, because you're talking about preventive, curative, and that, and all the other aspects. For me, I am talking about somebody being before a health person, somebody, a health worker, to support. When you talk about education, from 30 schools in the Greater Luweero to 488 schools, government primary schools.
Okay.
For me, that alone, we are not in a level where at my village,
what is regrettable?
let me conclude this.
Honorable,
We are not at a
this
level.
is very important. You're boasting about education, but the recent report
And I don't
indicates
expect
that
them to boast about the same anyway.
out of 1 million who enroll in P1, 2 million that enroll in P1, only 800,000 complete